In this video, we will show you how to replace your front window regulator with motor assembly in this Lincoln Navigator. This will be located behind your front door panel. Let's get into it. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. The first thing that I want to mention is it's important to make sure you have your window approximately 2 inches down. Once you've done that, we're going to have to remove the door panel. Now on ours, you can tell that it's semi-separated, but what you want to do is use a trim tool and carefully get underneath the window switch panel up against the door panel and gently try to pry on this a little bit. We'll work our way all the way around, breaking it free from the door panel. With that out of position, go ahead and turn it over and remove all of your wiring. Let's start down along here. You'll find that you have a little tab that you can squeeze in to unlock it and gently pull it up and out of position. Once you have it out of there, give it a quick check for corrosion. Do the same to all. For this, we'll follow the wiring down to its wiring connector. To remove this one, you're going to be looking for this locking tab. Go ahead and tuck that wiring into the door panel. Now we'll continue on down by the inside door handle. You're going to find that you have a plastic trim panel that goes right along this area. We'll use our trim tool and come right up against here to pry it out of position. Now once you have that broken free, carefully put that into the door panel. We'll let it hang there for now. Now let's have a look inside that hole. Inside this area, you're going to find an 8mm headed bolt that will hold the inside door handle to the door. You do not need to fully remove the bolt. Just go ahead and loosen it up to remove the handle. Now we can pull this out of the door, making sure that we remove the trim panel at the same time. Now we can make our way to the grab handle. Along each side of this, you're going to find that you have a protective cover that you need to remove using your trim tool to gain access to the mounting bolt behind it. For this, I'll carefully get underneath this area and gently pop it out of position. Looks like this one's held in place with some adhesive. It should just pop right off. Like I said, this one was held in place with adhesive, but typically it just pops right out of position. We'll do the same to the other one. There's that one. On each side of the grab handle, you'll find an 8mm headed bolt holding the panel to the door. Remove each. Now we'll continue on with our trim tool. Up inside of this area, we're going to pry in between the door panel and the door itself. In approximately this area behind here, there's a small push clip that goes straight in. We're trying to separate that from the door. Once you have that broken free, take hold of the door panel, lift it straight up and off. Keep in mind, you do still have wiring attached to the back. With that off of there, let's continue on to the mirror switch. There's a small squeeze tab where my thumb is. Squeeze that in, remove the wiring. Now that we have that off of there, let's continue on to removing our door handle rod. To do that, we'll use a small screwdriver or pick. Carefully pry up on this yellow locking tab. With that in the unlocked position, gently pry the rod out of the apparatus. Now we can dismount this from the door. You'll find that you have an 8mm headed bolt holding this in place. Once you have that off of there, we're going to take hold of this and pull it towards the front of the vehicle. The reason why that is because there's a tab that slides into the door. I'll show you in one sec. There's the tab. And if you were to look at the door, you can see it right here. Now it's time to remove the speaker from the door. Somebody installed an aftermarket speaker on our application. But typically, you're going to find that you have 4 6mm headed screws holding it in place to the door. Remove all 4. Remove the speaker from the door and disconnect the wiring. For the speaker wiring, it should have a connector that looks like this. As I had mentioned, ours has been rewired. Make sure that you disconnect it. Typically, there's a little squeeze tab that you can press in on and gently pull it away. Once you do, give it a quick check for corrosion. Give your speaker a quick inspection and set it aside. If your door has a speaker insulator, remove that as well. Continue on to your vapor barrier. Keep in mind, as you remove this, you will be reusing it, so try not to tear it. Remove your rods and wiring as you continue. Let's continue on by taking a little bit of masking tape, and we're just going to rest it over the door so we can easily access this in a minute. With this up here, let's continue on to removing the window from the regulator. Now, assuming you have your window down the 2 inches as you should be able to gain access to your 2 11mm headed nuts that hold the window to the regulator. There's one. Now the next thing we're going to have to do is carefully reach inside of this area. Be careful for any pinch points. We want to separate the window from the regulator. As you do so, there's going to be nothing holding the window in place. So you want to make sure holding on to that. We're going to need to slide this up and then tape it in the upright position. There's one. We'll do the same to the other side. Now we can slide the window up. With it in the upright position, let's continue on taping it up here. It's a good idea to use several strips of tape. Tape's a lot cheaper than a window. With the window safely taped in place, we'll continue on to removing our 2 11mm mounting nuts. Use a trim tool and dislodge the wiring harness from the door. Continue on disconnecting your window motor. For this, we'll use a small screwdriver, get underneath this locking tab, and gently lift this up and off. Give each side a quick check for corrosion, and then set this area aside inside the door. Now we'll continue on removing some rivets. You'll find that you have 6 rivets that hold the window regulator motor assembly to the door. To remove the rivets, you're going to continue by using a hammer and a punch, and then also a drill with a 3/8 drill bit. Use the hammer and punch to drive out the center of each of the rivets. Carefully reach inside of the door and remove the window regulator motor assembly. There it is, friends. All right, let's get ready to install our brand new front window regulator and window motor assembly. Carefully put this inside the door. Once you have it in position, we're going to be paying attention to the slot right here. Once you have that in the door, we'll continue on to aligning our mounting holes. After you have them aligned, you can continue on using some of your original mounting hardware. We'll take one of our 8mm headed bolts and our 11mm headed nuts. You'll notice that they go together perfectly. We'll slide this through here, holding the window regulator against the door so we can continue with our rivet gun. With that held in place, we'll continue on with our rivets. Now we can remove that temporary mounting bolt and nut. We can continue with our rivet gun. Now it's time to install the lower rod to the door. For this, you're going to have two studs that make their way through their corresponding hole. Reach inside here, being careful for any pinch points, and slide it into the proper position. Start on your two 11mm nuts and snug them up. Continue on to connecting in your window motor. The next thing we'll do is reconnect in our window switch. We're going to be taking the gray connector and sliding it into position. The next thing you'll want to do is put the key in the on position and power the window regulator up until you get it to the point that you can access the mounting bolt holes. The next thing you'll want to do is carefully remove that tape while holding onto the window and bring it down to the proper position on the window regulator. Install each of your 11mm nuts. With them on there, go ahead and snug them up. Put the key in the on position and test the window regulator functionality. Once you're sure it functions properly, take the key out of the on position. Disconnect the window switch. Make your way up here, resecure your wiring. We'll take the speaker wire and put it in and behind this area, bringing it up through where the speaker will be. Now we can install our vapor barrier. We'll take our large wiring harness and slide it through the hole where the speaker should go. While we're putting on the vapor barrier, make sure you have your rod going through it as it should. Now you can take this, put it in the proper alignment so all of your mounting holes line up, and press it up against the door. It's important to make sure all of these rectangular grooves line up with their corresponding holes because that's where the door panel will sit. With that properly in place, continue on to reconnecting your speaker. As you had seen, ours is aftermarket, so I'll just go ahead and connect this in. Let's reinstall this insert for the speaker. Once you have that in place, continue on to installing the speaker. Once it's properly installed, it should sit flush against the door. Continue on with the inside handle bracket. You remember that we had that hook that protrudes out? It needs to slide into its slot. So we'll press this up against the vapor barrier, into the door, and slide it. With that in position, continue on with your 1 8mm headed bolt. Snug it up. Reconnect the rod. Lock it in with the yellow locking connector piece. Now let's have a look at the back side of the door panel. You'll find on the back you have several hooks that make their way all the way around. And if you were to look at the door, you remember that you had all those slots. All those will need to line up when we put this in place. Now with that said, let's continue on to reconnecting our mirror switch. Listen for a click, give it a tug to make sure it's secure. At this point, we can take the rest of our wiring harness and bring it up and through the handle hole. Now we'll bring the door panel up nice and high so we can bring it up and over our lock lever. Try to get that aligned while you bring the door panel down into place. While you're bringing it into place, make sure you're pressing in each of those hooks into the door, as I had mentioned before. Once you have it properly slid down, continue on with your push clip along the top. Let's continue on with our 2 8mm headed bolts to hold the grab handle. We'll just put these in and bottom them out. Make sure those are nice and tight. Once those are on there, continue on with your covers. As you had seen, ours are broken. This should just slide on and latch in position. Now we can start reconnecting our master switch panel. Listen for a click on each one of the connectors. Give them a tug to make sure they are secure. Now we can get this properly aligned and press it into position. This should press all the way in and sit flush. Now we can install our inside door handle. We'll put this inside the door, get it properly aligned, and start in our mounting bolt. Continue on to your trim panel. You'll find along the back side you have a small hook that needs to go behind the door panel. Once you've got that back there, you can continue pressing the rest into the proper position. There we are. Okay friends, we've got everything back together. At this point, put the key in the on position and test the window motor and regulator functionality. Perfect. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.